think sometimes it can almost be unfair. Can you imagine you go through a whole week and you're constantly showing the connection of food and how it can literally bring on all these various diseases. And at the same time, it's foods that a lot of us eat on a regular basis. So it's almost like you're kind of saying, don't eat anymore. And that's pretty unfair. It's like, obviously we need to eat. But here you are identifying the foods a lot of us commonly eat are the foods that's making us unfortunately sick. So it seems to make sense that we would conclude our health education, if you will, with a cooking class to say, okay, here's how you can replace some of these things that you normally eat from. Okay, so I'm really excited that we get a chance to do this, because to me, this is harmonious education, all right? It allows us to know what's bad, but today we're focusing on that which is good, 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 okay? So we're gonna do some cooking demos. My wife will be out here in just a moment and walk you through some things, but we're just gonna go ahead and get ourselves started. And as has been our custom throughout the week, and I certainly hope you don't mind, but we're gonna go ahead and begin. I'm just gonna offer a brief word of thanksgiving and prayer, and then afterwards, we will officially launch into our cooking demos. So let's go ahead and let's pray together if you don't mind. Our loving Father, we are ever so grateful for the opportunity for us to be together. Thank you for a beautiful day. And I thank you for all of the wonderful, beautiful people that you have allowed to be under the sound of my voice. I thank you for my beautiful bride that is by my side, that will be able to assist in showing us how to eat well and eat for strength. And so now I am asking that you would please bless our time together. Let all things work out well, and may all of us be able to rejoice as a result of having been here today. Is our prayer we ask in Christ's name. Amen. When we go into our cooking demo, I'm going to let you know some things in advance. Number one, a lot of the recipes that you are going to see comes from this cookbook right here. This cookbook is called Cooking to the Glory of God. You'll remember that there was, when I introduced myself last Monday, and I told you that I was a health educator and that I received some training from different organizations. One of them was from an organization called Meat Ministry. They are known all over the world. They have locations not only here in America, but also in the Caribbean. And they have been instrumental in helping individuals overcome several types of stage 4 cancers, people who have been given death sentences. And as a result of going to Meat and receiving the treatments, they have come out living 5, 10, 15 years later, cancer-free. I shook the hand and know an individual who came to Meat Ministry with HIV. Today, he no longer has HIV. And so you're talking about diseases that really, today in traditional medicine, they say cannot be reversed, and they can be reversed. And so it is that part of the way that Meat would help people was through very healthy food preparation, okay? And the gentleman who was with Meat Ministry for 15 years, now he's at Weimar in California, but he was with Meat Ministry for 15 years. His name is Calvin Howell. That was the chef over at Meat. And he had an incredible way of putting food groups together and allowing it to be so simple to make. And here's the most important thing, it would be true to the recipe. You ever bought a cookbook and it tells you how to make something, and when you make it according to the ingredients, it tastes absolutely nothing like how it was demoed, what have you? Well, that's the good news, is that the reason why my wife and I decided to carry his book when we have traveled throughout the world is because we have found that the recipes are very consistent with the taste. And so we have several of these with us, and this will be available that you can purchase it. And when my wife does the demonstrations, it's gonna come from the cookbook here, okay? So Cooking to the Glory of God, it'll be here for you. When we go into our lessons here, we're gonna talk a lot about nutrition. We're gonna talk about the 4 things that you need to have in your diet every day. These are the 4 components you need to have in your diet every single day. And you want it not only every day, you want it to be represented in every meal, okay? In your meals, you should be able to have a combination of complex carbohydrates, also good healthy proteins. You also want to be able to have some good fats, and then, of course, you want it to be loaded with vitamins and minerals. So whenever you set up a plate of food, you always want to think of that. Where's my complex carbohydrates? Where are my proteins? Where are my fats? Where are my vitamins and minerals? You're always thinking that when you think about a plate of food being set up that you are about to partake of. And this way you help yourself get some good nutrition. I want to say this one last point before we get into our demos. You saw that often throughout the week, I was teaching you from books, okay? I like to educate from books because that way the education can be duplicated. You see, if all I do is just dazzle you with a lot of education, then what happens is you might end up doing something very bad. You fall in love with me, and you want to bring me home. And you're going to want to bring me home because you're going to say, he can keep helping us to know how to do this. But the reason I teach from books is because you can fall in love with the information, and then you can access the information, and then you can bring that information home, and you can use it to your liking. That's one of the methodologies of why I like to educate through material. It's not so much just to make a sale and to make money. There's lots of ways to make money without doing this. But I'm doing it for the key purpose of duplication. I want you to know how to take what's been learned, and then you have the resources now that you can continue to educate yourself. So I say this to say that of the 3-volume cookbooks, the 3-volume Foods Encyclopedia set, Book 1 educates you on food. It helps you understand what's good in food and what's bad in food. What are the medicinal properties in food and what are the poisonous components in food. So Book 1 is high-level education on food. Book 2 is disease. Book 2 focuses on diseases that individuals suffer with, and it has about 300 to 400 diseases addressed in the book. And it shows you the foods that contribute to the disease and the foods that can help reverse the disease. That's Book 2. Book 3 is actually a cookbook, but it's a very different kind of cookbook. What Book 3 does is it shows you how to make recipes, or it gives you recipes that actually minister to particular body functions and organs. So let's say you have a problem with your eyes, or in this case, let's say we're dealing with recipes for the urinary tract system. You know, if somebody gets a UTI, right? Urinary tract infection. What it's going to do is it's going to show you how to make, as an example, a garlic eggplant dish. And what it's going to show you is how long it takes to make it. It's going to show you the ingredients. It's then going to show you all of the health counsels, like when you eat this, what is it doing for your body? And then, of course, it allows you to enjoy it. And it's all plant-based. Everything in the book is plant-based. And so what you'll find is that this is a book that was designed to show you how to make specific food groups, recipes for specific body functions and body organs, okay? They come as a set. We only have 2 more left. Now, in the event that someone says, I really, really wanted this, and the 2 are gone, you can order it. We can help you with that. It's just that obviously it has a little weight to it. So now we're going to deal with a shipping cost, okay? As long as you're okay with a little bit of a shipping cost, we can order one for you and then it will arrive to you within a few days. So that's the good news. So even if the 2 are sold and they're gone, it's all right. We're going to be able to have more that can come to you in just a few days, as long as you don't mind handling that shipping. All right? With that being stated, I don't know about you, but I think I'm ready to go ahead and get into some recipes. You ready to get into some recipes? All right, so this is my lovely bride from my side, Alexandria. And Alexandria is going to go ahead and show us how to make some pretty incredible food. Now, what are we going to start with? Are we going to start with, does this look like dressings that we're starting with first?
Start with dressing.
Is it on? It was on red, now it's on green.
I'm not a speaker, so I wouldn't know these things.
Yeah, my wife has tried to run away from microphones for many years.
Okay.
Now, we're getting ready to do dressings, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I like to give rationale before moving into a recipe. One of the number 1 ingredients in most dressings that are store-bought today is something called vinegar, okay? when we go to our little education tools here, when we get to the page on vinegar, there's a section here where it kind of talks about vinegar. And what it does is it tells you the truth. And here's some of the things that it says about vinegar. Vinegar is anywhere from 4 to 12% acidic acid. So what that means is that you're dealing with a very serious type of, for lack of a better term, a very corrosive type of agent. Now, what does it corrode? Take a look at this. This is pretty powerful. It shows here, vinegar contains no sugars or vitamins, none. Therefore, it says, grape and apple juice are rich in both nutrients. It's better to use lemon juice, grape juice, or apple juice. But then it also says this, it erodes the dental enamel from your teeth. You may not have known that. Literally, vinegar intake can actually erode, eat away at the dental enamel of your teeth. The next time you pick up a Bible, go to Proverbs 10 and verse 26. You'll literally see that the Bible actually says, as vinegar to the teeth. It literally it likens vinegar and the effect to its teeth. It talks about, so the life of the sluggard shall be a very bad thing. So it's like the Bible actually knew that vinegar damages the teeth way before medical science knew it. Isn't that incredible? I love finding stuff like that out. But not only that, here's a real serious one. It breaks the mucus barrier that protects the mucosal membrane of the stomach and literally causes gastritis. So if you know people that battle with gastritis, often one of the things you can trace it back to is vinegar. And remember, vinegar is not only in dressings, it's in mayonnaise, it's in mustard, it's in ketchup, it's even in some of our breads. So a lot of foods that we eat have vinegar as a base to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to make a dressing that tastes quite fantastic. And at the end of the day, you'll tell us for sure. But you are going to go ahead and see a couple of dressings that we're going to make, and there will be no vinegar in it whatsoever. This way, we encourage you to eat more salads for sure, but not have to use dressings loaded with vinegar. So now, Alexandra, show us how to go ahead and make these things.
Just a concern. I'm not sure if everyone can see here because of this. So is it okay if they sit here?
Oh, I'm fine with that. If you're okay sitting here, you can sit here, you know. Yeah, no prohibitions. So if you want to sit here, you're fine.
I don't know if they're gonna block.
Yeah, just try to sit in a way where it doesn't block anybody in front of you.
Yes.
Look at the people behind you and
I'm
ask
sorry?
them, and let the people behind you know, is this all right? Is this all right?
Yes. Yes. There you go. Okay.
Okay. And there's plenty of space. Well, yeah, I guess this is probably a little closer.
No.
Sister Nami, you look like you're right in front of Sister Irma.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Now everybody can see.
Awesome. Wonderful.
better.
Okay, great idea.
So-
Thank you for that.
I just have a slight confession. Not all the recipes are going to be from the book.
Okay.
The reason why is because I'm going to demo a French recipe from that book, but I have other recipes I just wanted to share with you all. Who does not have an email address? Perfect. I can email all the recipes to you. Okay. Believe it or not, there's sometimes one or two that just, so. All right. So we're going to start with a French dressing. Who likes French dressing here? Okay, good. All right. It's not one of my favorites, but this is pretty good. Okay, so this recipe calls for a cup of cashews, but I'm going to use sunflower seeds because a lot of the recipes I'm going to use already has cashews in it, so just to do something different. So I'm going to put a cup of cashews in here. Well, sunflower seeds, sorry. And I have a whole bowl of all the seasonings. I'm just going to list them for you. It is 2 tablespoons of onion powder. And you don't have to write because I'm going to email you the recipe. So just relax your hands. Just relax. Don't worry. Everything is in here. Exactly how I'm going to say it. Just so you can kind of understand what's in there. 2 tablespoons of onion powder. 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt. 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. It says a 1/2 cup of sweetener. I'm choosing agave. You could use honey. You can use cane sugar if you'd like. And 1 15-ounce can of tomato sauce and water. It's very simple. So I'm going to dump all the seasoning I just said here. This really makes it taste good. This is it right here. You could use regular paprika, but the smoke really gives it that nice taste. I think that's what makes this dressing for me. All right, I'm gonna put some sweetener in here. Now it calls for 1/2 cup. I'm doubling this recipe because of the amount of everyone here, but you sweeten it to your like. Try a 1/4 cup first, because a 1/2 cup might be too sweet for some, okay? Also, this is oil-free, so there's no oil in any of the dressings or cheeses I'm gonna demonstrate today. Of course, this beautiful tomato sauce. Of course, if you want to make your own fresh, you can do that. All right. Yeah, well, you know, it has its own flavor. I personally like cashews. Personally, it just doesn't really, it has such a mild taste, but if you compare it with the sunflower, you might like the cashew better. The one I'm gonna demo, I use the cashews, but you know, I'll have this on the side as well, just if you wanna try it. I'm sure it's gonna taste a little different, but not too much. So I'm gonna start blending this. I did not soak them, but I normally do. But all the nuts that I used, the almonds and the cashew, they all were soaked last night. So you're all good to go. And the reason why we soak them is so it could just digest easier, okay? Cashews you could soak for up to 6 hours. Similar, pretty much overnight, what I did. About 6 hours to 7 hours I soaked them. Let's see. We have a friend here. Okay, I'm just gonna start with a little bit water first. Start with about 1 cup of water, and then you work your way up with that. This is on, okay. Okay, I'll finish this up in the kitchen just to make it extra smooth. But this is your French right here. And, okay, we're gonna do a ranch dressing next. And this is a 2-part dressing, 2-part recipe, sorry. First part is gonna be a mayo, and then we're gonna do the seasonings, and then we're gonna put it together, and then that's your ranch. Okay, so the first part is, and this is also oil-free. Oil-free, no oils. Yes. Mm-hmm. And oh, okay. Well, in this recipe, in this set of ingredients, I have 2 ranch dressings, but I'm just gonna demo one. And the second one comes from that book right there, the one that my husband spoke about. Go away. Good question. The dressings typically keep 5 to 7 days. I typically don't go past 5, but it never lasts. I mean, it's usually taken in. I have a big family, big eaters, you know, so they eat it. I wanted to also say one thing. The recipe calls for lemon juice, and that's to replace the vinegar. I personally I like the taste without it. So, I mean, but if you want to just add a 4th cup, if you double the recipe, don't double the lemon and the salt. Be very careful with that. You have to go a little and taste to see as you go, because it'll be too tart or it might be too salty. Okay? So that's the only thing to watch out for. All right. Second thing we're gonna do is the ranch. And this ranch, okay, I'm gonna list the ranch seasonings. Smells very good. It's a 4th cup of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of celery salt, 2 tablespoons of parsley flakes, 1 tablespoon of poppy seeds, 1 tablespoon of dill weed, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of sweet basil, 1.5 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Now, I didn't add the sugar. There is a sugar that I've been using. I don't really eat a lot of sugar, personally. I went on a gluten-free, sugar-free diet for a month and a half. And I relatively eat very well. I do a lot of whole food, plant-based. I try not to do any processed foods. And when I went on that diet, I felt fantastic, because I was a cane sugar eater. I wasn't a white sugar eater, just cane sugar, organic cane sugar, the one that's less processed. And I didn't know I was addicted to that until I got off of it. And after like a few days, that's when I started realizing, okay, this is a problem, because I was struggling not having anything sweet. And so by the end of the month and a half, my mental clarity, I was just thinking, this is what they must mean by mental clarity. I just felt like my mind was really sharp. I had energy through the roof. I slept well. I lost weight. I felt fantastic just by doing the gluten-free, sugar-free for that month and a half. And I've never gone back since then. My taste buds has adjusted, where even till this day, I can't tolerate a lot of sweets. So, and you're talking years. So you don't realize how some of these foods like salt and sugar are addicting. And your body, it craves it. So that's a problem. Food should not make you feel like that. So even though with the healthier sugars, I really try to stay away. But I found a low glycemic sugar called monk fruit. It's new, it's out. I know agave, when it came out, everybody it was a hit and everything. But then they started doing research and they say, well, it's not as raw, or they had some issues with it. So they said raw agave is better. But after a while, I'm just like, if you're gonna do sugar, I just do a little bit. And it's just too complicated. It gets overwhelming after a while, right? But what I do know is I can appreciate the taste of just whole foods. I find that my tongue is not as corrupted, because there's things I wouldn't enjoy before that I enjoy now. And I don't even drink juice. I haven't drunk juice in years. And that's because of the sugar content in a lot of the juices out there. And when I went on that sugar-free for a month and a half, I started noticing how much sugar is like in everything. And they never give the grams, only percentage. I'm like, why don't they give the grams? I want to know how much sugar I'm eating. And so it just seems, for me, I'm like, it just seems suspicious. I don't know. I don't get too much into these things, but it's just a concern. So I know I feel better when I take less. And so that's what I try to show even in the classes. So it does call for sugar. You're welcome to use it. I'll probably add a little agave just for the sweetness. And you could try the monk fruit. It's new. They said it's autistic approved. So people with autism seem to do well with it. If you have candida or even cancer, they say it's okay. Personally, if I had cancer, I just wouldn't do it. But I know people with candida have used it, and they had no problems. So I don't know. The research is still new. Okay, so you're going to, so where am I? Okay. See how I'm not talking? I lost my train of thought. Okay, so I showed you the seasoning mix. And so next we're gonna do the mayo. And with this recipe, I'm gonna use a non-refrigerated tofu. Have you all ever seen these in the stores. This is a you usually find it in the international section, in the Asian section. And I'm using extra firm. They have firm, extra firm, and silk. Sure, say the texture. Yes, extra firm. So this one is extra firm that I'm using. But it really doesn't matter because after you make this, when you leave it in the fridge, it sets that you're gonna have to, it gets really thick. All right, so yeah, you're adding this whole block because of the size of the class. It didn't touch it. Yes, I know that's another option people can use, and that's good. I know green stevia is even better, but I don't find it easy at the stores for some reason. But again, I know in certain sanitariums, when a person has cancer, they give them green stevia instead of the other stevia. So yeah, that one for some reason I don't see at the stores, I'm not really sure why. So I guess it's something you may have to get online. All right, so after that, we're going to add the sunflower seeds. The recipe calls for cashews or sunflower seeds. And then you're gonna add your agave, sweetener of choice, about a tablespoon and a half. And your sugar, onion powder and salt. And this calls for 2 teaspoons of onion powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. All right? You get in there. And then you're gonna blend a little bit, just a little bit. A little bit of lemon juice, 1/4 cup. Alrighty. Okay. It's a nice blender. And everything is nice and smooth. And this is just a pretty much plain mayo. Remember I said it's oil-free. The oils from the seeds or the nuts you would use is sufficient. Let's get it all, because we have a good amount of people here. All right, and then what you're gonna do is to make the dressing is you're going to, I want to make sure you see, add a tablespoon of that seasoning, and you're just going to put it in. Now again, I doubled it, so I'm gonna do 2. This is the ranch seasoning that I shared with you. It's going to be on your in your email.
So we made kind of a mayonnaise, and then you're adding ranch seasoning to it.
Right. That's the dressing. Yep. And then you just kind of fold it in. And again, this can stay in your refrigerator for about 5 to 7 days. And, it's going to get thicker as it sits. You could pretty much serve it immediately. And if it gets too thick, just add a little water and just stir it. It should be fine. All right? And that's your mayo. Well, your ranch. I hope your son likes it. I know the one in the cookbook, this one here, I'm not really trying to advertise it. I'm really serious, it's really good, the one in the cookbook. So, and I will tell you that in that book, he calls for oils, and it does taste good. It helps with the texture. But if you want to do oil-free, you're going to taste and see that you don't need it. So if you want to do a little oil, it's up to you. You're not locked down to any recipe anybody tells you. You can switch it to your liking as you choose. Okay? And that's it.
And if you were to use as a guide, should I use oil? Should I not? One of the things I would say is if there's anybody in here that is battling with heart disease, I would say do not do the oil recipe. If you're battling with any type of heart disease, just don't do the oil, do the oil free, make it a default. For those of us who are not combating with heart disease, you can take more risks as it relates to oil because you have not gone through the damage that often heart disease can cause. And as a result of that, you can go ahead and do some things with the oil. Generally, you just don't want to do it. For all of you who are in the room and you really want to lose weight, if you start doing more oil-free recipes, oil-free cooking, oil-free eating, you will drop weight very quickly. You will find that the consistent consumption of oil-based products is often what is going to increase as it relates to, the weight gain because of the additional fat deposits, all right? So that's just something you want to keep in mind if you're trying to say, okay, do I do oil-free? Do I not do oil-free? Which should I do, et cetera? That's just one real great way that you can do that. Are there any more questions just on this recipe as we prepare to go ahead and move on? All right. Well then, one of the things we really have to get heavy into is our vitamins and minerals, and this is where we want to increase our raw food. So one of the things I put up here is our raw food pyramid because this is really good as far as kind of giving us a gauge when it comes to what we should and should not eat. So let me go ahead and get my magnifier there just in case you need it. So I'm going to start at the bottom. You'll notice that leafy greens. The reason why these are called, number one, they're called foundational foods, and these are what you're going to eat generously, okay? What constitutes generously? We're going to talk about a plate full of salad. I would like to recommend to everybody in this room that we start having a plate full of salad per day, all right? And a lot of us do bowls and things of that nature. Please, let's get past that. We're way past that. When you do a plate's full worth of salad, you're dealing with up to about a good 3 to 4 servings of vegetable. And when you're doing a plate full of salad, don't be afraid to add some color. Even though green is an absolute imperative, you also want to make sure that you put in some other things. If there's one thing that I would highly, highly, highly recommend, to the point that if you do this faithfully, you will find yourself needing less and less of supplementation for vitamins. Sprouting. If you do not do sprouting, I would like to encourage you to do sprouting ASAP. Always, always, always add sprouts, lots of them, to your salad. And there's many, of course. There's bean sprout, there's broccoli sprouts, there's various types of sprouting. And you can learn how to do this at home. One of the great tools, one of the fantastic blessings of technology is if you don't know how to do something, nowadays you can almost learn anything by going to YouTube. Sooner or later, YouTube's going to start distributing doctoral degrees. You can learn how to be a doctor from YouTube. Seriously, it's like YouTube is just an amazing educational portal. You can learn a lot of stuff. So if you don't know how to do sprouting, you can just go to YouTube, how to do sprouting. And there's tons of tutorials out there that's like, okay, this is sprouting 101, and they just walk you through it. But my friends, I'm telling you the truth. Sprouts can have up to 400 vitamins and minerals, okay? Sprouting. So when you do sprouting, you're loading your body with nutrition, loading it with nutrition. Because I'm a traveler, I can't always do sprouting, because the one thing with sprouts is they wear away quick. They can get spoiled like really quick, okay? So when you do sprouting, you kind of need to eat it quickly, all right? You don't even want, like if you were to buy sprouts from a store, because I know some of you may say, oh, I know stores that do it. Your biggest problem is, depending on how it was packaged, it may be an incredible carrier of bacteria, all right? And as a result of that, if you're gonna buy sprouts from the store, you gotta have a method of washing it really well, okay? Some people literally go to the bathroom, they don't wash their hands, and they're picking up your sprouts and putting it in the package that you're buying it from in the store. It's disgusting, but it's the truth. It's just the reality of what we're dealing with, or at least that gamble, that risk. And so I would highly recommend that you do your sprouting yourself. If you're gonna buy it from the store, you gotta have an agent, maybe some type of lemon spray or something like that, fresh lemon juice spray, where you could spray those sprouts and try to help get all that bacteria off. Sprouts are very fragile, so it's kind of hard to wash them. But nevertheless, you can kind of dip them in certain things, again, a lemon juice based type of cleanser that is, food grade, so you can eat it, and then you dip it in there and then kind of rinse it off. But the bottom line is you definitely want to do your sprouts. I saw your hand. Alexandra, where do we get our seeds to do our sprouting?
Oh, I order them. I'm actually, I do get some from Amazon, but I try to get them from a company that specializes in sprouting. And I don't remember, because I'm just starting to do it. And I've been looking at microgreens, baby greens, and it's just loaded with nutrition. And it's so inexpensive, it's actually better to do it at home. And it's easy. So there's a ton of videos on YouTube. I mean, there's a plethora of information. So I can research and I'll let you know before the class is over.
And my understanding is that here at the Golden Church, there's going to be continued classes on food preparation, the use of natural, simple remedies, etc. So you can always just get in touch with the leadership here, and I'm sure a sprouting class, a canning class, those type of things will continually be done here as well. So just get in touch with the leadership. Am I representing that right, Sister Tanisha? Am I speaking well to that? Yeah, thank you kindly. All right. All right, now, the truth of the matter is that I'm a traveler, okay? I'm a traveler. Because I'm a traveler, there's one thing, supplementation is really huge for me, okay? I have a pretty strong, pretty strict supplementation routine, because sometimes I am in countries where, I'll give you an example. Next week, I have to be in Trinidad. After I come back from Trinidad, then in November, I'm in Indonesia. And then in November, when I'm finished with Indonesia, in December, I have to be in Scotland. So I have at least 3 countries that I have to visit before this year is over. Being in these different time zones and being in these different locations, sometimes, high-level bacteria, virus carriers, and so on, I have to carry things with me to help keep my body up. So another thing that you can get, this is phenomenal, all right? And this has been one that I've used for years. This is Garden of Life, and it's called Raw Organic Meal. You will find that the ingredients are sprouted inside. It's a powder, okay? It's a powder, so you're basically looking at, if you can see that, I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's just a powder. And you're taking 1 scoop a day. It has 1 gram of, say again? Oh, Garden of Life, and it's Raw Organic Meal. And I get the vanilla flavor. And this thing is power-packed. It's so power-packed that I'm going to tell you a true story. In plant-based diets, often we are low in vitamin B12, right? Vitamin B12 is a super vitamin. We need it especially for a good, healthy nervous system, and it allows for good cellular mitochondria function, and it's extremely necessary just for good health. Well, when I went to Malaysia, I was working with an organization that was like a medical facility. So they actually did some blood work on me there because I asked them to. And they came back and they said your B12 level was at 356. Now you'll find that B12 levels are generally between 200 and 1100. So being at 356 meant that I was low normal. What you'll find in a lot of these reference ranges in lab reports is you don't want to be right at the border. Like today, people will tell you if you're at 30 nanograms in your vitamin D3, that's good. That's bogus. That is not good. You need to be at 50. You want to be anywhere from 50 to 70 nanograms if you're talking about good, healthy vitamin D levels. Vitamin D is being discovered to be a super vitamin as well. When your vitamin D levels are low, you can open the door to diabetes, heart disease, and cancers, and worst off, cancer of the pancreas. And that's the fast killer. So they're constantly seeing a connection with that. Anyhow, I took this for 3 months, 1 scoop a day. Has 1 gram of sugar, and the sugar is with stevia. So very healthy product. Yes. Yes. Yeah, they're all fat soluble. Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem is that in traditional medicine, they contradict that statistic. So here's an example. You will hear stated often, don't go above 4,000 IUs in a day, international units, right? They'll say, don't do that, it goes toxic. But then if your vitamin D is low, the doctor, the dietitian will tell you you need 50,000 in a week. Yeah. And when you ask them, but isn't that going to produce toxicity? No, it won't. And so what we're finding actually is nobody really knows the threshold. They know that there is a threshold, but no one knows it. So here's what's often safe. If you are vitamin D deficient, we're dealing with vitamin D3. If you are vitamin D3 deficient, then you want to get yourself at least about maybe 50 to 60,000 international units in a week. You break it up. Okay, it's going to be approximately about 10,000 a day. If you do about 10,000 a day until you get to your number, 50 nanograms, once you're at your 50 nanograms, now you can drop it as stated to more like your 2,000 international units. So if you're deficient, you're going to need to go higher. Once you get stabilized, then you can take it lower. Okay? So that's a very good one. I'll give a recommendation for a really excellent vitamin D3 supplement. And of course, it comes from my friends, Amazon. So this actually you can get from Amazon. And this is the cheapest I would find it. So this will last you at least a month or two if you're taking 1 scoop a day. And they'll go for probably about $35. And my B12 after 4 months of taking this shot up to 856. All of my children. So, in other words, why do I have this energy? Why is it that I'm always feeling like, quote unquote, Superman, etc.? Often it is because I'm giving my body all of the vitamins and minerals that it needs. So I'm big on supplementation. When we talk about the greens here, I take this with me everywhere I go. This is also by Garden of Life, and this is their wheatgrass. So I do 1 scoop of Garden of Life wheatgrass every day. So I do 1 scoop. Again, if you're a traveler, if you're very busy, if you can live a nice, good home routine, you don't necessarily need to invest in these. I might recommend get a green powder, but you don't need this because you can do the sprouts. And the sprouts will really take care of a lot of this. But even if you're not a traveler, we on average don't get enough greens in our diet. So I generally like to encourage everybody, put some more greens in your diet. Even if it's a good superfood, organic green powder, try to do that along with eating a lot of your leafy greens. Yes?
Are you saying that the Garden of Life raw meal has, the greens will replace the amount of B12 that you get from the...
Oh, not the green. This one.
No, the sprouting.
Oh, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
So sprouting
Can give you your B12.
a lot of B12.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Because again, all this is a bunch of sprouted foods. And yet it's boosting the B12 up. So in the same principle, you can do it through your general sprouting. Absolutely. And so that's what I'm saying. If you're home and you're regulated, you can do sprouting and get a ton of those vitamins and minerals. But if you kind of are moving and shaking, you got different things going on in life, it's not practical for you right now to do a lot of sprouting, go ahead and get yourself the Garden of Life raw meal. That is absolutely excellent. I mean, I should get a commission for how much I've recommended this thing to people, because literally, and I have people that take it. Like my whole family, we just got blood work done not very long ago when we were in California, and I mean, everybody, all 6 of us, our B12 levels are at like super healthy high levels, you know? And you notice it because you're not feeling the drag and, you know, feeling out of it and the low energy and all those things. Your B12 is a super vitamin, you need it, okay? Yes, sir. Oh, this container? Probably this one will last you, man. I take 1 scoop of this per day, and this will probably last you like 2 to 3 months. And this one's maybe in the 20s, like $24, $22, something like that. All right? So again, when we're dealing with nutrients, to all of my heart people out there, any type of cardiovascular concerns or issues, you cannot go wrong with beet powder, beet root. Okay? So literally, this is my triple hitter that I'll do in a day. I mix it with water, and it actually tastes good just with water. I don't even need to use a nut milk. You can use a nut milk if you'd like, but I do it with water, and it actually has a very nice taste. So this is my triple hitter every day.
What brand is the beet juice?
Say again?
What brand is the beet juice?
This brand right here is Micro Ingredients. Okay? Micro Ingredients Superfoods. All right? And say again? Yep. I literally do 1 scoop, and usually about a little more than a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half of the beetroot. And then I put it all together. Now, beetroot is awesome for giving your body the nitric oxide. The nitric oxide is going to help your vessels open. So a lot of people like to take beetroot maybe 30 minutes before doing exercise. Like if you know normally, if you're going to do your exercise, let's just throw a number out there, 11 o'clock a.m. If you're going to do your exercise at 11 a.m., maybe about 10:30, go ahead and take the beetroot. And what it's going to do is it's just going to cause a serious vasodilation impact on the vessels. It's going to open them up a good bit, which is going to afford for phenomenal blood flow, and you're going to notice your energy levels are going to be much higher. And it has been clinically studied. Remember earlier in the week we talked about clinic versus lab? Clinically studied, it shows that when you do beetroot before an exercise, you have even double the energy. You have more energy because, again, it's allowing for more blood flow to go through. And you need that when you're exercising. And you will find that, man, I got this endurance. And it's really, really awesome. And it's all food. You know, that's the part that I love about these 3. It's food. You're not dealing with synthetics. You're not dealing with all of this other stuff. It's just food. If you look at the ingredient here, 1 ingredient, beetroot. That's it. There's nothing else. It's just beetroot dried and pulverized into powder. That's it. So you're getting 100% food. So that's the idea. Now, always remember, oh, yes.
But if I'm not following the principles we talk about all week, like water,
I was just saying, okay, go ahead.
exercise, still want sunshine, that's not going to substitute, right?
That's the point. Remember, supplement, right?
I would like it to.
Yeah. No, when you think of it by definition, when you think of the term of supplementing, it's adding to something that's already said. That's the idea of a supplement, right? So that means that there should be something already said. So what's my point? My point is that you and I should be very faithful in giving our bodies what we need on a regular basis, and then you're adding to it these supplements so that way you know for sure you're not missing a beat. Okay? Sometimes you're in situations, to my truck drivers in the room, to, you know, those of us who are sitting on airplanes often. Sometimes you get at an airport so early, you didn't prepare food the night before. In an airport, you really have super limitation on, you know, good food to eat if you're trying to stay healthy. So that's an awesome time where, okay, I'm going to eat this little bit of food here that's good, and I'm going to supplement my difference. You get that? So that's kind of like how this works. But the more that you and I are eating and living a healthy lifestyle, the less supplements you need because you're eating it, okay? So that's the only thing that I want us to keep in mind. You raised the point very well. This does not replace exercise. You don't live a lazy life and say, well, let me take some beetroot and just pump myself up real quick. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You need to be moving around. You need to be exercising and taking care of yourself. But to give yourself some assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, our world is toxic. Every time you walk outside, you're taking in poison. So the only reason why I'm an advocate of supplements today is because there's so much that we're breathing in. There's so much that's getting on our skin, and when we get hot, the pores open, and then it gets through our skin into our bloodstream. We take in poison every single day, especially if we're working out in congested areas, cities, and so on. There's even studies in Europe where they show that when you're at least 300 feet or less close to those type of power lines right out this window, it is shown that the electromagnetic field impact could potentially cause cancer, specifically blood cancers like lymphoma and leukemia. So it just testifies to how we're surrounded by negative energy. Then we got technology saying, hey folks, 4G is a thing of the past. We are moving now to 5G. And what's happening is that's even more electromagnetic field exposure. So we are surrounded by negative every day. And that's the reason why you not only take care of your natural, but ever so often, you might want to throw some supplements in there as well to give you that extra boost because we're constantly taking in poison. Okay? Yes?
You said you mix all three of these together.
I do.
And how much water? A glass? Or
Yeah, 8 ounces is fine. 8 ounces, maybe 10, if you wanted to be a little looser. But yeah, you don't need to really go above 10 ounces. That's what I do, and it works perfect. Yes?
I just wanted to ask, you said we should eat a plate full of salad.
Yes.
You make it into a smoothie. If people don't have time to do whatever. But, I started doing that. Put carrot juice in, with my greens, and half an apple.
Remember this. One of the findings that's really catching the medical world by storm right now is what I'll simply put in 2 words, and that is gut issues. You are finding that gut issues are on the rise, okay? You've heard of leaky gut. Anybody ever heard of that? Leaky gut on the rise. You ever heard of this whole thing now? Everybody's talking about probiotics. You're hearing more about probiotics, prebiotic, probiotic. Bloating. A lot of people are going through bloating. For some reason, they eat a meal and suddenly they turn instantly pregnant. It's like, whoa, look at this. I suddenly have this round baby in my belly, and that is often from bloating. Okay? A lot of people are getting these gurgling feelings in their stomach, and the list just goes on. One of the best ways to stop probably 30 to 40% of some of these type of gut issues, chew your food. When you chew your food, you send a signal to this wonderfully wired mechanism that lets you know to release the appropriate amounts of juices, and enzymes that are prepared to break down the food. The problem with smoothies is you typically don't chew it. You just bring it down. And so it's kind of like the stomach is just sitting there, and then all of a sudden the stomach is just like, what's going on? Hey! And now this stuff is coming down, and now the stomach has to immediately get ready. Okay, guys, get the juices. Hurry up. And the stomach's telling the body, enzymes, let's go. And now your body has to go through all this work because of that shock factor of what just came down so quickly that it wasn't prepared to break it down well. So if you're going to do a smoothie, yes, you may get all of your food groups in, but what I would recommend is chew it. Believe it or not, I've shown people that if you're gonna take a smoothie, kind of let it in the mouth and you're gonna feel pretty silly, but nevertheless, you just kind of whatever, and then you kind of you want that salivation, you want all of that stimulus to take place so that all of the enzymes and everything's ready when the food comes down rather than just gulping it down. That's why one of the worst things to do is to drink through a straw. When you drink through a straw, not good, because you gave your stomach absolutely no preparation for what was coming down. A straw is even worse than at least drinking it with the mouth. When you do it straight through a straw, it's just like a tube, and it just immediately goes down, and now your stomach has to go through this amount of work to prepare to break down what's been coming in. So that's the only thing I would say with the problem with smoothies is, just try eating the food, because there's a lot that happens in the world of chewing, which leads me to another point, and then I'll take your hand. Take care of your teeth. We took care of a cancer patient, stage 4. And one of the biggest problems we had with her, it literally affected her treatments, was she was missing so much teeth from not taking care of herself. She was 69, she turned 70 under our care, and she was not taking care of her teeth, so it took her up to 2 hours to eat her food. And because it took her so long to eat her food, we would say, we were supposed to start your treatment 30 minutes ago. And it would literally impact her treatments every day. It was very difficult. We kept trying to encourage her, could you eat a little faster? And she was like, I'm doing it as fast as I can with the little bit of teeth that I have. And I never made the connection before, never. I always knew the importance of dental oral hygiene, but I never made that connection so clear that if you don't take care of your teeth, if you get sick and the food that you eat is the #1 medicine and it has to be chewed, then you put yourself in a bad situation. And I would have never made that connection before. And so now I see it very clearly, and that's why I just want to say in advance, I want you to cherish every tooth that you have in your mouth, and you want to do everything possible to preserve it. We need to be more intentional about dental hygiene, okay? So that you can chew your food and get the best benefit of how it's to break down in the body, all right? I saw a hand over here, yes.
I just wanted to attest to the chewing part. I did
Oh, yeah.
feel once at one point where they had studied Nazi prisoners of war, and these guys were actually only given water at some point, but they would chew the water,
Oh, yeah.
and they lived some 5 to 7 years longer than
Oh, yeah.
others that did survive.
Yeah, literally, you activate digestion when you chew. That's why Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, a man who was way ahead of his time, that's why when he wrote his book, First Book in Physiology, when Dr. John Harvey Kellogg wrote that book, he said digestion begins in the mouth. And that was like, whoa, to the world of science. It was just like, really? We thought it began way down here in the gut. Nope. He says it begins in the mouth. Yep, exactly. Oh, yeah, it does. Yes, and then yes. I have it. So this is literally what I presented this year when we went to Bacolod, Philippines, and we did training with, we trained about 80 pastors, 130 medical practitioners, and then about another 300 plus lay people just from all over Asia. So we all came together. And Philippines was an excellent place to do this. And we began to educate on oral hygiene. And we literally showed them, look at all of that. All of this can come from oral hygiene, poor oral hygiene. Everything from diabetes, mouth cancers, heart disease, stroke, lung conditions, of course, dental decay, the list goes on. All of that can come just from not taking care of your mouth or what's in your mouth. And so it's a very, very important thing to consider. So we actually walked the people. Oh, I didn't know you wanted to take a picture? Sure. And we actually did a presentation. Class, I think we covered this. Yeah, for those of us who took the class, you have these slides, all right? And, this is what I want you to teach the people, teach the communities. Do you go to certain areas or you go in certain homes where individuals are not practicing good hygiene, show them how to take care of themselves. So we literally walk them through what to do. We actually show a correct way of even brushing your teeth. People don't know how to brush their teeth right. So you literally got to educate people on like a super practical level. In New England, where I live, I mean, I've gone in homes where the hygienic practices of some people is so poor. And it's just like, wow, you'd be amazed at how many people don't even know how to brush their teeth. They don't know how to brush their teeth. They don't know the difference between a tablespoon and a teaspoon. And so you'll find that you got to give some very practical education to people. But they love you and they appreciate it when you take the time to show them such simple details. They really do. Yes, my brother. That's right. Yes, sir. Very good. Flossing, huge. We actually go into that. We actually go into the importance of flossing as well. Well, I want to show you again some things as it relates to the pyramid, if you don't mind, because when it comes to our nutrition, I really want to encourage us to keep this in mind. When you're dealing with your fruits and vegetables and your leafy greens, eat those generously. How much fruit should you get in a day? Again, 2 to 4 servings of, well, I sooner recommend 4 servings of fruit per day, especially if you're not diabetic. Even if you're diabetic, just stay away from dried fruit. But fresh fruit you can partake of. Fresh fruit, you can go for it. But again, dried fruit, be a little mindful of that. Sugar content's a little bit higher. But the key is that eat generously fruits and vegetables. So for your fruits, get about 4 to 5 servings in. Remember, a large apples, 2 servings. Large banana, 2 servings. Handful of grapes, 1 serving. So that's 5 servings right there. Then with your salads, a full plate's worth, put some rainbow in there. Okay? Get some orange in. Get some yellow in. It's all right. Get some of those yellow peppers. Go ahead and load it up. Get some good color in there. They all represent different nutrients. But that's what you and I should be eating daily just on the raw food side. And that is going to be, again, your foundation foods. When it comes to your proteins right here, proteins, your amino acids, please eat that moderately. You don't want to overdo it. So an example of those are your sprouts and your legumes, nuts and seeds. I definitely am a nut advocate. We don't eat enough nuts, and I know why, because we're always budgeting, and we say that, and we know that nuts is typically the most expensive part of our grocery bill. But listen, doctor visits are more expensive. Medication's more expensive. You got to get nuts and seeds in your diet. They were made for you. Okay, if you studied all of the beautiful impacts of nuts and seeds, if you ever think about it, seeds have some of the highest nutrients. Sesame seed is the highest amount of calcium that you can get. Sesame seed, yes.
Sesame seeds, I've heard that, like I'm a drug driver, so it can affect a drug test.
It can, yeah, I mean, you do a drug test once a year. So,
Sometimes they give you a surprise drug test.
oh, they do? Well, I guess what you can do is let them know. You let them know, and that's true. Coffee can certainly do the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry, poppy seeds. Yeah, very true. But nevertheless, you can definitely just you let them know, like, look, this is the diet that I have, and, you make them aware of what you're eating and the fact that sometimes you do have sunflower seeds or sesame seeds, and you just make them aware, and they should be able to be okay with that. And that's the point. So you can do follow-up tests, and you'll see that obviously it was just the sesame seeds, and there's really nothing wrong at all. So don't let that stop you. But again, I'm just making a point that sesame seeds, highest in calcium. Pumpkin seeds, one of the highest in zinc. Men. Pumpkin seed. Make sure you're getting yourself a good amount of pumpkin seed, because men have a tendency to expel zinc. When a man experiences the privilege of marriage, you follow me? You following me? When a man experiences the privilege of marriage, when the man expels, he loses 1 day's worth of zinc. 1 day's worth of zinc. and it takes about 2 days to get it back up. And that's why when you got guys that's doing this day after day after day after day, not only are you hurting your wife, you're hurting yourself. You got to give yourself time to build that zinc back up. So zinc is needed for good neurological function and for good cellular integrity. Okay, so you definitely don't want to mess with your zinc. Young men who spend a lot of time, unfortunately, self-abuse, single men, and married men, men who just basically have problems. If you are practicing self-abuse, masturbation, these type of things, you're losing a lot of that zinc. And it is not a wonder that in a major loss of zinc, it can impact you mentally. Okay? Because again, neurological function is a major role of zinc. And I have a presentation on that. If we ever do a presentation on the family, if I ever come back and do a presentation on the family, we actually go into some of the topics of, you know, honey, just so you know, I'm totally waiting on you. No, dear, I'm just come out. I'm literally talking because I'm waiting on you. Yeah, I don't go fluoride myself. There's more negative than positive about it. Yeah, so I choose to do fluoride free. My point is that the seeds carry power. The more that you study seeds, flax seed, chia seed, sesame seed, pumpkin seed, it's like the seeds have power. They have the highest degree of nutrients. That's why you want seeds in your diet. Do not cheat yourself out of the seeds. Eat seeds. Flaxseed, we walked over that already. I hope you remember. Grind it down. Get it whole. Don't buy it ground. Grind it down yourself. Store it for about 7 days in the refrigerator, and make sure you're having 4 tablespoons of it per day, right? You can switch it up with chia sometimes. That's okay. If you want to do in the morning, 2 tablespoons flax. In the afternoon, 2 tablespoons chia. That's fine. You should be eating pumpkin seeds almost daily. Sesame seed, do it twice a week. You know, the bottom line is get more seeds in. There's a reason that the Bible refers to the Word of God as a seed. The gospel's a seed. You get that? Christ is referred to as a seed. It's like seeds have so much power. We learned that from the natural world, and we need to understand that in the spiritual world. So, seeds. Yes, my brother.
I thought chia was naturally caffeinated.
No. Green tea is, but not chia. Chia, no caffeine. Green tea is caffeinated. I am not an advocate of green tea. So I just want you to know that it is clinically proven that high levels of green tea intake, and sometimes even smaller levels, we don't really know the best measurements, and that's why I leave it alone altogether. Green tea intakes can actually cause acute liver failure. Acute. You understand that? You know, yeah, right? You know what acute means? That's like sudden. That's like quick, like, oh, I didn't expect that. Chronic is when it's long going. Acute is like, boom, it just happened, you didn't even expect it. And there are clinical studies showing the connection between green tea intake and acute liver failure. If your liver fails, you got a rough life ahead of you. Because now you're talking about transplants and all the complications with that, and it's a very serious problem. It's not worth taking the green tea, okay? There's better ways to get all the nutrients. So anyhow, this is again going on that. I'll close this up. We'll go through a little more because now my wife is back and I don't want to dare take another minute. What are we doing now?
We're going to do cheese.
All right.
Okay.
Cheese. What kind of cheese are we doing?
We're going to do cheddar cheese, and we're going to do an Alfredo cheese.
All right.
Okay. Now, we're going to do the cashew cheese, the cheddar cheese first. All right. So, I'm going to move this out the way so you all can see. All right. So, I have a cup of cashews, raw cashews that's been soaked. And we're going to put that in here. Now, just so you know, I have a few nut-free recipes in the email that I'm going to submit. You could do potatoes. There's a potato carrot. You could do a flour, a gluten-free. I forgot the flour they use. Yeah, there's one with flour and there's a gluten-free one. So there's a few options for those who can't take in nuts, or if you want to serve it for someone who doesn't is not able to take nuts, you can do that. All right, then, sorry, we're going to add nutritional yeast flakes. Now, nutritional yeast flakes is, it's not an active yeast. It's just, it's loaded with B12, and it gives a nice cheesy flavor to a dish, okay? So we're gonna add a half a cup.
What is it? What is, I call it brewer's yeast, but
Yeah, they have brewer's yeast. No, it's not.
what is it?
At the end of the day, it's like a firm, it's like there are two types, let me put this on. There are two types of. Oh, you got me? Good, thank you. So at the end of the day, it's what's called, it's a healthy fermented product in the same world of what you would see with yogurts and what you might see with sauerkraut. But at the end of the day, where exactly is the nutritional yeast flake coming from? Give me a moment, and I'm going to pull that up for you.
Okay. All right, so you have your nuts, you have your nutritional yeast flakes. You can find this at Whole Foods or Sprouts. That's where I got it from. And you are going to add some salt, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 tablespoon of onion powder. Now, this recipe calls for oil. You're going to see it in your email, a cup of oil, but you know, that's like I said, you don't need it. I believe the reason they use oil is for the consistency and the texture of it. It's a lot more smoother. But if you have a good power blender, you can make this you really don't miss it. I've tasted both, you don't miss it. All right. I left my pimientos, which is pretty much red pepper. This could be a raw dish if you add fresh red pepper. If you do a dark red pepper, it adds more flavor, more color. I like to use pimientos because it just adds to the flavor. So I'm just gonna get that real quick. Okay, hold on.
Is what we call your top 10 plant-based proteins. So
Yeah, let me
Alexandra's
finish.
back, but you can go ahead and take a shot of that, and then you can go ahead and continue.
Okay. So when you're buying this at the store, try to look at the ingredients that just calls for the peppers, the salt, citric acid. Sometimes it has vinegar in it. Sometimes it has sugar in it. So I try to find the one that has the least amount of ingredients, and you just add about a half a cup. You know, you could use this freely. This is what's going to give it its nice color and taste. And you start with about a half a cup of water. No, but there's you can do that. I mean, this is a very basic recipe. If you add smoked paprika, you could have a smoky taste to it. It's great as a dip. You could put it in pasta as a mac and cheese. Let's see. You can put cheese in it, make it more, lemon juice to make it more tart. Okay, so this is pretty basic, but you can do a lot of different things with it. Okay. So that's your cheese. Smells delicious. Okay, it's pretty strong. All right. The second one we're gonna do is an Alfredo sauce. Now, I used to eat Alfredo cheese, but the thing is that with the Alfredo cheese, because of the dairy, obviously, I don't eat that anymore. So this recipe that I have here is pretty much the same as the cheddar. You're adding same amount of nuts, which is a cup of cashews. Again, this was drained. As you could see, it's looks different than what you see at the store. It's just really cleaned and soaked. And then you're going to add three tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic. Now, with this one, I added a little bit more garlic because I find that it just adds a nice flavor to it. It also calls for lemon juice, same as the cheddar cheese, but I find that the flavor just really comes out better without it. Yes? Mm-hmm. No problem. What would you like me to say again? Mm-hmm. Oh, you weren't here? That's okay. I was telling everyone, relax your hands. I'm going to email it to you. It's okay. So yes, the lemon juice I omit because of the flavor, but again, you can add it. And if you like it more tart, you could do that. It's really basic, just a few ingredients. And no oil. And this is a raw dish. Let's see. All right. It's a small amount, so it's kind of splattered, but I have yours there. Obviously, this is a large blender, so I could have put more, but based off of the class, I didn't want to make too much. So, but, oops. As you can see, it's not fully blended, but for sake of time, thank you. It still smells good, and it's gonna be nice and creamy when you see it later, okay? So that's your cheese recipe. And next we're gonna come out and do meat replacement, okay? And then we're gonna do your desserts. And then you all can sample it after. All right, thank you. Mm-hmm. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're gonna talk, we're gonna do the meat replacement.
Okay, awesome.
So do you want to speak on it, or you
Well,
want me to just start?
bottom line is that, again, if you want to learn more about the various concerns with meat consumption, we can talk about that one moment.
Somebody just asked me, they'd like to know what other oils to use that you can cook with.
Oh, okay. Sure. So let's go through our oils. For your oils, the best oils to cook with when you're dealing with high temperatures, and as you can see here, we're talking about up to 400, is coconut, red palm, almond, avocado, walnut, and peanut oil. These are some oils that can handle high heat very well, okay? So if you're gonna use oil to cook with, then these would be some of the oils that you wanna definitely consider. Grapeseed oil, how could I forget? Grapeseed oil for sure. When we're dealing with no-cook or low-cook oils, remember that food can be considered raw food if it's under 125 degrees of heating. So even though it might require some degree of heating, if it's a super low heat like 125 or under, it's still considered to even be in its raw state, for none of the enzymes are compromised at all. So in that situation, if you're doing a no-cook or low-cook, which we're doing like under 200, then these are some of the best oils to use. You can put vegetable oil in there as well, all right? But these are gonna be those that are best to use if you're not going to do any no cook or low cook. Now, of course, you could use your high heat oils and use them for the no cook and low cook too. But nevertheless, these are going to be the oils that often work very well. They're just a bit more fragile oils that under heat, the chemical composition gets changed up quite a bit. So as a result of that, you want to watch out for that. All right? Yes, sir.
Could that be like fried versus regular cooking?
Yeah, and yeah, sure. I mean, but sometimes you can do high heat oil cooking, but it's not fried. Like somebody might use it to make a lasagna or something else, and they might use a very high heat, but
Stir-fry.
they put some oil in that. But you're not frying, okay? So don't limit it to frying. That's my response. Is don't limit it to frying. You can use high heat cooking, and it's not necessarily frying anything. But nevertheless, in either case, if it's high heat, frying, baking, or any other method, try to make sure you're using these oils versus the other side. All right? I hope that helps for those who needed it. Yes, sir. Yeah, your canola oil, obviously, because of the rapeseed connection, there are some concerns that individuals have as it relates to, anything from it being carcinogenic or possibly causing depletion in the functionality of the cells, the health of the cells. So because there's good lab reports and bad lab reports on canola, I choose to say, let's leave it alone until we get more facts on it. Yeah, because nobody needs canola. There's nothing that says, I need it. So you can always get various replacements, obviously. So until we get more data on what really is the situation with canola, is the thing legitimate or is it not, then just put it aside. Go for something else, because canola oil is not necessary. Yes?
Coconut oil, but it's congealed. That's the way it came. Do I plop it in and let it melt?
Oh yeah, well, again, the only problem is, if you're gonna use it for cooking, don't do it when it's still solid, because you might be putting in more than you need. You understand? Because when it breaks down into the liquid, you'll find out, oh wow, it's a lot less. So a tablespoon of when it's gelled versus a tablespoon of when it's liquefied is two different things. Yeah. So just there you go. Yeah, do that, and you'll be much, much better off. All right. Okay. Are you ready, my love?
Yes, I'm also going to talk about the tofu.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is really awesome. So even in the last class, I have to tell you the truth, and this is just my truth, and you'll understand what I mean by that in a second. One thing a lot of us really like are eggs. A lot of people like eggs. They like eating eggs in different ways, and probably one of the most acceptable way of eating eggs is scrambled. Some people do omelets and sunny side over the, but scrambled. Scrambled eggs is generally, for the egg eater, scrambled eggs are pretty good. So one of the things my wife really, in my mind, mastered is the scrambled tofu. And when she does it with the chicken style seasoning, etc., I don't miss scrambled eggs, not one bit. And I have tried scrambled tofu from restaurants. I've tried them from various homes. And while they have been good, I told my wife, I said, honey, in all honesty, I don't know anyone that has made such a tasty scrambled tofu like what you make. And so I actually was like, please, 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 can you make it for everybody? Can you make it for everybody? I really want them to try the scrambled tofu. So she was such a loving bride that she was like, you know what? Just for you, my Hercules, my man, I'm gonna go ahead.
It
And
so
she
did
decided,
not go that way.
and I'm totally tearing this up. But the point is that she was so kind. She was definitely kind. And she made the scrambled tofu. So she's gonna definitely let you get a try of this. And it's just my favorite. I mean, like really, this is one of the ones in our homes. I love to have it at least twice a week if I can. It's really good. And so I'm glad she made it. And I know she's feeling a ton of pressure because
Very
if this
much
was
so.
a bad day, she's gonna be like, Dwayne, you just messed everything up by telling everybody this. But I can't remember the last time she had a bad day, so I don't think it's a bad day. But she's gonna show you
he's
how
sweet.
to make the scrambled tofu, and then how to make, instead of a meatloaf, a nut loaf. And this nut loaf is really good. For those of us who remember from class, we had a good time with this nut loaf. And when we've done this at other churches and events and what have you, I mean, the people really respond very positively to this. we're hoping you'll have the same response. So with that being stated, go ahead, hun, and tell them all about our meat and egg replacements.
Okay, we're gonna do the nut loaf first. And the nut loaf has a lot of nuts in it, but we have half a cup of soaked almonds here. And you just pretty much are gonna use about the same amount with the water, half a cup. Probably gonna need a little more. You're just gonna make a paste with it. And you'll understand why later. This is enough. All right. Well, this way actually. So, yep, it's kind of pasty. And then you're going to add 4 cups of cooked brown rice. Okay? And now, there's a chicken style seasoning mix that complements this recipe. There's another chicken style seasoning mix that complements the tofu. If you were to use this one with this, it would not work. So anytime someone makes a dish and they said, oh yeah, I put chicken style seasoning, my, mock chicken style seasoning, ask them for what they put, because not all seasonings go with every dish. But this one is designed for this dish. And again, this is gonna be on your, I'm gonna send it to you via email, but I'm just gonna tell you what's in it so you have an idea of what you're tasting. 1 cup of nutritional yeast flakes, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of onion salt, half a teaspoon of sage, half a teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of marjoram, 2 tablespoons of parsley flakes, 1.5 teaspoon of garlic salt, 1.5 teaspoon of celery salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of savory. Now, essentially, this is the salt that's going to be in it. This will fit a 9 by 13 dish. So, it's not going to be as salty. And you're going to mix that up. That can be stored in the fridge. It could be stored in your cabinet. And you're going to put 5 tablespoons in there, which I have here, plus another teaspoon of garlic salt and 2 teaspoons of onion powder, which is all here.
Are your herbs fresh or dried?
I bought dried.
That makes a difference in quantity.
Yeah. You're gonna also add a 4th cup of the dried onion flakes. And one time a woman in Bermuda, she invited us to dinner, and we were there like a year later, and we came to her house for dinner, and she made a nut loaf. I didn't know it was the one I demoed. Hers tastes so good. I was like, oh, what's this? She said, you don't know what this is? You showed us how to do this. And I was like, this is not what I showed you. This is really good. I said, what did you do? And she said, well, I kind of tweaked it a little bit, and she sauteed the onions really slow, and I mean, that added just a bunch of flavor to it. So, you could tweak this as you choose, and you could try that, but with this one, 1/4 of dried onion flakes, and then we have 1/4 cup of, 1 cup of oats, just regular rolled oats. And we have 1.5 cups of ground almond meal. Is this a dieta? Dieta. Do you know that red spatula I asked you? Can you bring it for me? Okay, now we have this tofu. This is the refrigerated kind, and I got, what's this one? Okay, I picked up the wrong one. I got silken, but I was supposed to get firm. Extra firm is good too, Thank you so much. But silken will work today. You drain it. There's water in there. And you just plop that in there. And then the almond paste that we made earlier, you plop that in there. Scoop that out. Trying to get all, as much as I can. Grooves are hard to get. All right, and 1 1/4 cup of unsweetened almond milk. You can use any nuts. You can use pecans, you can use hazelnuts, you can use cashews, you can use rice milk, oat milk, you know, whatever you'd like. And then you just essentially just combine it together. Yeah. Yeah. So. It's the texture. I mean, to me,
I wouldn't think so.
the extra firm and the firm is not that. It's a little bit too firm, I guess. So it all depends on the dish. Like, as I put my hands through here, it's not as firm as I'd like it because I used the silken firm because I picked up the wrong one. But it's still, you know, when I bake it, it'll still be fine. But the texture typically is a lot more stiffer.
So let's say you're trying to do a scrambled tofu. Scrambled tofu generally is going to work a lot better with your firm or extra firm. If you use like a silken and scrambled tofu, it's going to have a really mushy kind of consistency. And so if you like I remember this like yesterday. I used to always ask my mother, "Mom, could I have scrambled eggs almost burnt?" Mm-hmm. I mean, like that was always, my mom always knew Dwayne has always wanted scrambled eggs almost burnt, meaning I liked it really kind of like a firm feel. So if you're trying to do like a firm feel scrambled tofu, you don't want to use silken, because even if you let all the water out and you use a napkin, it's just the consistency is much softer, all right? So it depends on the dish you're making. That like this, you can go ahead and use a silken even though you meant a firm, because it's kind of all getting baked in the middle of it anyhow. But if you're trying to do something where the real consistency of the tofu is your make it or break it, you don't want to confuse a silken with a firm. You want to get the exact one you need.
I mean, you can always manipulate the tofu by baking it. If you were going to do like a tofu stir-fry, you know, marinate it. I mean, I try not to do a lot of tofu because it's a lot of protein in one block. Then you got to think about, if you're plant-based, you're doing soy milk. And then, you know, you got to kind of factor in, what am I eating in the morning? I mean, if I'm having a smoothie with soy milk, and then I have, or like tofu in the morning, and then I have something else with soy in it, sometimes we overdo it with it. So it's good to, you know, we have varieties of milks and things like that. So this is the consistency of it. You know, it's still moldable right here. It doesn't look too appetizing, but if this would be difficult to make like a nut ball. I mean, like little nut balls, like if you wanted to do some kind of spaghetti or whatever, little balls there. It'd be a lot more stiffer, but you could still kind of work with it. I wouldn't do it with this. But you put it in the oven. What I do is I like to line the dish with parchment paper, and then you just mold it to your dish, 375 for 1 hour. You know, I cover it for like the first 45 minutes, and then the last 15, I let it get exposed to the heat so it can just cook the top. So that's your nut loaf. Somebody could take this home if they'd like. We have containers there. Now the scrambled tofu that I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna have to tell you how I do it. It's very, very, very easy. What it is, what makes the tofu or the scrambled tofu is the seasonings, because tofu doesn't have any flavor. So it's what you put in. I did a very basic one. because I was asked last minute to do it. I did not know he promised you. Otherwise, I would have, but it's still good. I actually beg to differ. My daughter makes it the best. I don't know what she does.
She's a runner-up.
No, she's not. Like my oldest daughter, I don't know what it is about the way she has the same exact ingredients, but hers it just tastes so good. I don't know I'm like, what did you do? She's like, I just did what you told me. I was like, no, you do it different. And yes.
Food tastes better when somebody else.
Is that what it is? Maybe. Because hers, my other daughter admitted, she was like, yeah, Kayla's, I don't know I think it's the timing of when she puts it in, the seasoning. I don't know. So the only thing is, I don't have, because I was asked last minute.
Okay.
But I can find out.
Is it in Calvin's?
No, this
Okay.
is a different one. But the thing is, I can get it for you. I'll ask my daughter. I'll text her right now and tell me to text me quick the ingredients of it.
You're sending an email to everyone of
Yeah, I'm going to
recipes?
put it on there.
So then what we'll do is we'll put how it was made. But I think what's most important is for you
No.
to try it, and then that way you can decide if you want it added to everything else. Like if for any reason you said, I didn't like it, and you didn't want to add it, then we won't add it to the email.
I still want
But
to
I know you're
explain
not going to say that. But
I want to
nevertheless-
explain it, though.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering how many people have given her your email.
Yes, I'm going to need you to do that for sure.
We need a paper. Okay, good. Thank
right.
you.
Okay, just please make sure it's legible, because if you leave, I have no way of finding you. Okay? All right.
I'm meant to be a doctor.
What I can also do is give you my email, so just in case you don't have it, you could say, hey, I didn't get it. It's like, hey, I tried to send it. Can you just, maybe there's a
Great
thing.
idea.
So, yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yep.
Cute kittens? No. Okay. Alexandra, ALEXANDRA _lemon at Yahoo. Yes, I can. ALEXANDRA _lemon at yahoo.com. And that's the long line at the base of the line, underscore. It's not a dash, just in case. All right, so what you could do is you just essentially you have your tofu. What I do is I'll get the firm. I like firm best than extra firm. And you just let it drain. Just let it sit on this and let the water just come out. Some people press it. It's not necessary to do that with this, because what I do is when I finally put it in the pan, I let it just cook slow for a while, and it eventually absorbs all the liquid. But I will cut up some onions and garlic, some peppers, tomatoes, real small, mince it, and I just put it in there, saute it, and very slowly, not on high heat. And when it's nice and just slightly golden brown, I add the tofu, and I just let it cook down until it naturally dries up, like maybe about 80%. Because you're gonna have liquid in there, because you're not doing it overnight. Some people press it or they wrap it in paper, and I just didn't have time to do that. So after it cooks, when you see it getting a little, not fully dry, but it's drier than it was before, you just kind of sprinkle the seasoning lightly, like a layer of it on top, and then you just kind of mix it in, let it cook down a little bit. That's essentially it. I mean, there's no magic behind it or anything else, but I do think the taste is a lot more, you will taste it better when it's seasoned after the tofu is cooked without any seasoning. Let it cook for a little bit, because if you put it too soon, it doesn't have the same impact, I guess. So you can try it out. But yeah, I'm gonna put this on your plate so you all can try it. I did not have any peppers or garlic or anything like that, and it still tastes pretty good. So you'll get an idea of how it tastes. Yes. Medium heat, low to medium heat. You know, if you want to whip it up real quick and just do it in a higher heat, you could do that. Yeah, I just like the seasonings to say it always tastes better the next day.
Oh, yeah.
It always tastes better the next day. Yeah, I mean, so. Yes, I saute the veggies first, very slowly. Like I let it take its time, and I don't know, I just find it better that way. And I think that's it. Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I forgot.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Are we doing the desserts next?
Yes.
And
we
that,
are
is
gonna
that
do.
the last one?
Yes.
Oh, that's
I
great.
did
So
two
then-
desserts this time. So
2
far.
desserts.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. So you're going to really get some treats. So one of the desserts is going to be a raw dish. And then, are both of them raw? No. I don't think the other
Just
one is raw.
one.
Yeah, so one of them is going to be a raw dish, and then the other one. So if there's any chocolate lovers in the room, you're going to really like this raw dish. I mean, wow. It's just really, really good. And then there's going to be another dish that's going to kind of be like a cream. Is it like a cream pie, that one?
Tofu cream cheese.
Like a tofu cream cheese
Yeah.
pie or what have you. So again, something quite delicious. While my wife is getting that together, I want to introduce you to Jada and Kayla. You've never met my daughters. You've met, my son Caleb. Now this is when they're younger. This is probably about a good 15, let's see, not 15. This was about a good 4, maybe 5 years ago. And that's Kayla and that's Jada. Now, they love to cook. So now, Jada and Kayla, Lord willing, by the end of this year, are working together to finally launch the Lemons Cookbook. So we're going to have our own cookbook, and that way we're going to go ahead and market it as a family. We are very big into industry. We believe in industries. We want to teach our children to be industrious, and so they are gifted. Now, look at those biscuits. Those biscuits pretty much look like biscuits that you would get from a lot of places known to sell biscuits. They're really good at taking a recipe, making it super healthy, but at the same time maintaining taste. So there were some of the dishes that Jada and Kayla would make, and there was one morning we were staying with some friends of ours. This is a cake that Kayla made, and that's carob. That's not chocolate. That's carob that is over this sponge cake, and that was something that Kayla really likes to do, baking. Jada does more of the hardcore cooking, but Kayla does the baking. And this is a stage in my wife's life where she gets to kind of sit back and tell them to make dinner or tell them to make breakfast. We all still live together, thank God. Our children are the cooks. We try to get them, you guys do the cooking. Mother's retired at this point. So they do a lot of the food prep. Kayla makes some pretty awesome cupcakes. We used to do like meetings, and when we would go do some meeting, we did a GYC in California, and Kayla made a bunch of those cupcakes, and I mean, boy, did they sell out. And so she was just selling her cupcakes, and it was a blessing. Biscuits and Gravy. This was one that Jada made. And so I show this to you because I want you to understand, I want you to get ideas, that this is the degree of cooking that you can do in a plant-based fashion without any negative ingredients, negative sugars, negative this, no negative ingredients, all good ingredients. This is this is a banana bread and a graham cracker parfait. For the cooking class, for the class training that we did, you remember we did the parfaits, and the parfaits were super delicious. And so again, and as you can see, when you do a cooking class, for those of you who look to do this in the future, which I hope is a lot of you, remember presentation. I mean, look at that. That is very appetizing, just the way it looks. And so you want to always keep in mind, when you're teaching people how to make food, and my wife, believe me when I say, for her, this is humble what she's doing. She would love to do a nice layout and all sorts of things, but we just kept it simple. But in addition to that, of course, Alexandria and I, and then this is a macaroni and cheese that you can make. So that same cheese that you saw my wife make, the cheddar, we put that over the macaroni, and this is a mac and cheese. I mean, you would never know that that was a mac and cheese that's plant-based versus, one that is not. I mean, it looks the exact same. So that's the kind of things that you can do even in the world of plant-based food. I'm a firm believer that we do need to eat food more simple and in its natural state. We do need to get there. Like this week, I would have things like brown rice and beans, and I would have like a really nice steamed Brussels sprouts, and then a big loaded salad, and that's my meal. So, again, that's food in its most original natural state. We need to learn how to eat more like that. But sometimes we like to go ahead and have a treat. So we might do some barbecue tofu with mac and cheese. We'll do something like that. So you got the options that you can really enjoy it. Here's a stir fry that my wife has mastered. I wish so much that she could have made this for you. This is a tofu stir fry. So look at how she cut it up. And you see the little sesame seeds on top? And then you just mix it with the broccoli. It looks like something from a Chinese restaurant. And you can really get creative. You can choose Italian cuisine, Asian cuisine, Mexican cuisine. You can go Greek. You can choose whatever it is you like. And so you can really start, and I show this to you to show how you can actually enjoy making food, enjoy eating whole food, plant-based. So we show that to people so that we can encourage them to say there's absolutely no reason that you need to consume food that is compromising to our health. You can actually eat plant-based food and absolutely enjoy it, all right? And you're going to see that in just a second. And, again, it's just as a father, it's been a privilege over the years that, this is Kayla showing a young lady how to do a charcoal poultice. This is Jada doing the blackstrap molasses facials. Again, those of you in class, you'll remember these. That's my son. That's Caleb, the guitar player. You met him making the Nature's Penicillin. And then that's my oldest son, my pianist, Jared, and he was doing a pain salve. And the idea is just to get the family working together. So that's kind of like who we are as the Lemons, My children are at ages now where they're really kind of getting an idea of the life work that God has for their lives. So we're at a place now where maybe 4 times out of a year, we'll travel and do some things together, where maybe 15 times in a year we would do things. My wife would carry the homeschooling with her, and we would go ahead. But the idea is that this type of living, this type of lifestyle is very, very powerful. When somebody gets a cold, you should know what to do. You don't always have to run to Tylenol or run to a lot of these drug medications. You should know what to do. And sometimes things like Nature's Penicillin. How many of you learned how to do that? I know that they did some demos here, right? Isn't that awesome? I mean, that thing will boost your immune system up and carry you through a whole flu season without getting the flu. If you have not learned the Nature's Penicillin, again, talk with the people here at Golden. They'll take the time to show you how to do it. They know how to do it now. So they'll take the time to show you how to do it. When you get bee stings, bug bites, growths and things that are happening, and you're like, where did this come from? It's really important to know how to do a castor oil poultice. It's important to know how to do a hot and cold therapy. The more that you know how to do these things, my son Caleb came to me and said, Dad, for some reason my arm is locked. He didn't even know why. And I said, try to straighten your arm. And he just went, and I saw the response on his face, and I was like, wow. I said, okay, look, we're not going to run to the hospital. We don't know what's going on. But one thing we do know is that one thing the body always needs to work well is good blood flow. And so you know what I did? I took him inside of the bathroom, and I just took a cloth, folded it, and I turned the water on as hot as it could go. I prayed with him first, and I said, Lord, this is a simple remedy, but I'm just asking if it can relieve Caleb from this. Please bless this effort. And then after that, I put the hot on his arm. And we would just keep the hot there, real hot, without scalding, but hot. And we did it for 3 minutes. And then we took ice cold water, and then we put that on there, hot and cold, kind of like what I showed you all, and some of you tried it, the hot and cold treatments. After doing that, I said, Caleb, try to straighten your arm. Gone. There's things about the body we don't fully understand. I have a cardiologist who checks my heart once every year, and I ask him lots of questions. And he says, Dwayne, and he's brilliant. Please don't get me wrong. He is brilliant. But there's sometimes I get deeper with my questions, and he says, Dwayne, listen, we as specialists are still trying to understand this incredible machine that God has made. There's just some things we just still can't figure it all out. But it's so comforting to know we're in the hands of one who not only figured it all out, but he's the one that says, hey, I made it. I know exactly how it works. And so, I enjoy these simple remedies. I enjoy a whole food plant-based diet. I enjoy being 47, feeling like 27. I mean, it's really nice, it's nice to just have a life with no pain, or thank God, maybe no disease, or whatever. Or if you have disease, maybe it can be overcome. And so I just want you to really enjoy the things that we're sharing with you, because this gives us joy doing this. It's like we actually enjoy meeting you and like serving you and providing this for you. That just makes me bubble over. And so, she got this here. It's the final step. And I'm so thankful for our helpers. They're already preparing your plates, so they're going to come out really soon. Now, forgive us in advance. We don't have a whole plate of food for you. This is not lunch or dinner, whichever one you call it, okay? So you're going to want to eat more after this. But we at least want to give you a good sample of everything that was demoed. You're going to get some scrambled tofu. You're going to get a nut loaf. You're going to get the pastry. You're going to get all of it. But, it's just going to be serving sizes. You're not going to get the big whole caboodle. All right? Any questions before my bride comes back with the final one? Wait till you see this raw pie coming out. I wanted to just tilt it over and show you what it looks like. This thing is so good. But any questions? Yes?
We were talking about oils earlier and we kind of had to move on. What about sunflower seed oil?
Sunflower seed oil is actually good too. Sunflower seed oil is good, number one. Sunflower seed oil would sooner be on the low cook, no cook versus on the high heat. All right? There's not a whole lot of oils that you can use on that high heat, and it just maintains its original chemical composition. So if you're going to do the sunflower, definitely do on the other side. I would also recommend sometimes doing sunflower butter in comparison to peanut butter. All right? Peanut butter you want to probably keep low on your list unless the peanuts say something to the effect of Valencia. If your peanut butter is Valencia peanuts, then that's good, because how many of you ever read the China study? You ever read it? Okay. If you read the China study, you remember that Dr. Campbell, he talked about aflatoxin poison. And the aflatoxins are like a mold that can grow on the product, whatever it is that's growing out of the ground. The mold can grow on it, and that mold is not very easy to get off. And therefore, when the peanuts and whatnot are harvested, anything that typically comes from a tropical area, when it's harvested, sometimes that mold is still on it. When we eat it, it has what's called aflatoxins. And aflatoxins is one of the causes of H. pylori and even stomach cancers. And so stomach cancers are pretty rare. And often when you think of stomach cancers, you think of certain areas that are tropical. So one of the things you want to watch out for is eating foods that potentially are high in aflatoxins. So if you're big into peanut butter, the two things that are strikes against you is possibly the aflatoxins and also the amount of oil. The amount of oil typically used in peanut butter. So please watch out for that. And if you're going to get peanuts or peanut butter, try to get the ones that are called Valencia peanuts, and Costco sells it. So if you got a Costco's around, you can get the Valencia peanuts from them. I think Trader Joe's has a Valencia peanut butter as well. And then you can use that one if you're going to do some type of peanut butter dish. My daughter Jada, her favorite cuisine is Asian food. And so sometimes we like to get spring rolls, summer rolls. The ones where you're using rice paper, and you put like the green leaf lettuce and you put vegetables in there. Sometimes she might put a strip of tofu, and then she makes her own peanut sauce. And Jada makes an awesome peanut. She's mastered it. She makes an awesome peanut sauce. Caleb, the guitarist that some of you met, he makes an incredible avocado shake. I mean, who would have ever thought you can enjoy an avocado shake? And it's basically avocados, coconut milk, and a sweetener. And it tastes fantastic. One time I lost a lot of weight because of, I was battling with a gut problem, and I lost a lot of weight, and I had to get my weight back, and I took some avocado shakes. Avocado shakes, and I mixed some nuts in it on top of that. Before you know it, I went from like, whoop, and it just came right back again. So, you'll be amazed. For those who are slim, I know that's not everybody's problem, but for those who want to gain weight, you can actually do stuff like that. But the bottom line is that, Jada made an incredible peanut sauce, and she uses the Valencia peanuts. So there's some great stuff out there you can make. Yes?
When you said he uses coconut, did you mean the kind that they substitute for soy milk?
Yeah.
Or do you mean the can?
No, actually, the kind that you substitute for soy milk. Yep. Like a silk coconut milk. Yep, just like that. And it's just amazing how that tastes. Dear? Oh, yes. Uh-huh. Water. When my wife talked about sauteing the vegetables, no oil, water. Sauteing with water. You can saute with water. And it works very, very well. Okay? So you don't need to use oils when you do your sauteing. Okay? All right. Oh, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, because again, you're usually doing your stir fry or your sauteing. You're usually doing it more in like a flat pan, and then, as mentioned, you don't want to use a whole lot of water. You want to kind of use just a little bit to see the little bubbles on the side of it and get it going and turning it over. Yes. Alexandra, when you're doing your sauteing of vegetables, do you do your seasoning at the time that you're sauteing it? Do you do it after? When do you choose to do that?
After I saute the vegetables first. Now, are you talking about sauteing in water?
Yeah, sauteing in water.
Okay. That mentally is something that I told my mother about it. She's having a hard time adjusting to the idea of sauteing in water. But when she first did it, she said, I don't see a difference in flavor. I just like the oil. So she's just like, it's just the sound. Water's odd. But in actuality, it's you just have to keep adding a little water depending on how quick it evaporates. It's just more a mental adjustment than anything else, but it's actually a good practice. If you want to remove oil, or limit your oil intake, it's actually a good practice. It's just more of an adjustment to saute like broccoli in water. But I did it, so I put the broccoli in there, and I'll add the seasonings after. You could do it either or. It really doesn't matter. Is that it? Can I go ahead with the dessert?
You most certainly
Okay.
can. All right,
Now-
so this is going to be our final demo, correct?
Yes.
And then you're going to get your samples.
Okay. Now this actually ended up I made last minute because I wasn't going to make the Carob Pie because last time I was here I went to Whole Foods in Lakewood. They had it. This time they didn't have it. I assumed they did. So when I went there last night, and they're like, well, we don't carry it anymore. So I wasn't gonna make it because I went to Sprouts, I went to Whole Foods, I went to Natural Grocer. Nobody has it. You can get it online, but I just don't like making things that's not easily accessible. But I made it because I had a little bit left, so you can try it. But I didn't have enough to demonstrate, so I'm gonna explain it. All right, and I don't have the container of the Carob, but essentially what you're doing is you're gonna get a food processor, and you all know how a food processor looks like. I know most of you do, but just in case, one or two, okay? It's essentially going to put about, and this one's on your recipe list, so I'll email that to you, the directions and everything. 2 cups of pecan nuts, and then you're going to add a 1/2 cup of carob powder. Carob, C-A-R-O-B. And you're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavoring. Try to get a non-alcoholic one. They're there, you can find it. Just 1 teaspoon. It's optional, but it'll still taste good without it. And let me see. So you have the dates. 5 dates. 5 dates you put in there. So you got your pecans, you have your dates, you have your 1/2 cup of carob, and you have a teaspoon of vanilla. And you blend that up. You let it go through the food processor, And it's gonna be dry, but if you let it keep running, it's going to kind of stick together. And then after a while, when you check it, you're gonna see you can mold it. That's gonna be your crust. It smells, I mean, it's really good. So you put that as a crust in your dish. You could use this, you can use anything because you're not baking it. Sometimes they have these dishes where you can kind of remove it after it's set, and it's really pretty. Yeah, what are they called? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so, sorry. So then, so you have your crust. Now, you set that to the side, and in your blender, you're going to add 3 cups of raw cashews. Then you're going to add a half a cup of carob powder. Then you're gonna add 1 cup of coconut sugar, okay? And then 2 cups of unsweetened almond milk. It has to be unsweetened.
How's this coming along?
Because of the sugar content, it's gonna be way too sweet. So do unsweetened almond milk. And, okay, so you have your cashews, then you have your carob powder, then you have your 1 cup of, you're gonna have a cup of coconut oil, but you're gonna add it last. That is what makes the flavors come together. It's pretty incredible. So when you have all these ingredients there, so you're blending your nuts, you're blending your carob powder, you're blending your 2 cups of almond milk, and I believe that's it. All right, then you blend that up. When it's fully blended, as it's blending, you slowly add your coconut oil. And you just, let it go on low and just slowly add it and just let it incorporate. And then you put it in your dish and you let it set. And that's it. You could put it in the freezer, you can put it in the fridge, and that's it. And so I'm gonna have these pieces cut up for you. This is how it looks. I added some pecan tops and coconut because that's the theme of the dish, right? So I had to do smaller layers. It would have been a lot more higher, but just to make it so everyone can have a sample of it, all right? Now, this is a raw carob pie. Usually what I try to do, my husband had a parfait. That's what when I work with my daughters, they like to do that. It's just nicer, you have it in a cup. So I got the graham cracker crust at Whole Foods. I don't usually use this, but this is pretty healthy when I saw it. So I left the label here if you want to see it. I'm going to leave it here. Okay, so with this dish, what you're going to do is you're going to use that non-refrigerated tofu by Morinu. This is the extra firm. All right, and you're going to put that in your blender. This also I got from Whole Foods. I'm going to leave the box out here so you all can see. Morinu used to make a pudding, but they don't make it anymore. I don't know why. They used to have vanilla. They have vanilla, lemon, and chocolate. The lemon was the best. They don't make it anymore, so this is still good, but the vanilla is what I use. So you take the whole packet and you put it in the blender. So you have your tofu, you have your pudding, 1 tablespoon of coriander. That's it, just 1 tablespoon of coriander seed. It's a powder. And the juice of 1 lemon. And finally, half a cup of melted butter. And you blend that up, and that's your filling. And then you pour it in your dish. Now, what we do at home typically is we'll get graham crackers, cookies, and we crush them and we add butter. And we just kind of make our own. I find that the flavor's a lot better. But the ones that we use, I didn't see it here. And so the other boxes, they had questionable ingredients, and I didn't know how it tasted. So I just fell with this one. I think this was just for you to sample. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to cut it up, and we're going to serve you all in a few minutes.
And we have some very faithful soldiers there in the back, so your food will be ready in just a matter of moments.
Yeah, we're going to serve you.
Like the plates are 90% done, okay? Very quickly, in closing, we mentioned that our YouTube channel, so we recently launched this. We are going to upload programs every single month. So we want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe And as you subscribe, we're going to be addressing things on the family. We're going to be addressing things on marriage. We're going to be addressing end-time events.
That looks great.
We're going to be addressing health, cooking classes. We're even going to try to have certain things that my son Caleb is going to show
Okay.
as far as
What's that, the
practical lessons and,
Okay.
you know, like how-tos,
cheese. Okay,
if
good,
you
good.
will. If you want to know how to change a
Yeah.
tire, if you want to know how to change oil on a vehicle or what have you. We want it to be as practical as possible. So we're going to be doing a lot on this channel. We want to make it a means of servicing individuals in a very direct and powerful way. So we just want to encourage you, go ahead, take a look, subscribe, and then every month we're going to just be uploading more and more and more different classes, lectures, presentations. As we get ready to wrap up, I think we're going to need to go ahead and prepare to give thanks for the food. Before we do that, I'm going to give you a quick little reminder. We are now down to one remaining of the Encyclopedia of Food set. So if any of you would like to obtain that, okay, so you did want to get it? All right. So at this point, then there would not be any more here. If you did want it, however, like I said, we can have it shipped to you. Secondly, when you go to the table, we're going to have the cookbooks there. These cookbooks go for $20, and they'll be on the table. My wife will be able to help you if you need help, and you can choose to do card or check or cash, whatever you choose to do. There's going to be a couple other things. The training that we did here, we have 4 of those with us. It's about 66 hours of training. It's DVD training. So, you know, you can put it in your DVD player, your computer. You can watch it at your own pace. And then obviously you can go through the courses. And it shows you how to do a lot of the things that we've been showing all throughout our time here at the training. So we have 4 of those that are there at the table in the event you think that that will be beneficial to you. Finally, we got a few more of the protocols: diabetes, cancer, how to battle anxiety, how to overcome it. All of that will be there. Again, anything that you do purchase, just know it helps support the ministry. All right? It's been an absolute privilege serving you all week. And we are now at the precious place that we can go ahead and bring things to a closure. So let's give thanks. We're going to thank God for the food that has been prepared. And then if you don't mind, if you want to stretch your legs, you can stretch your legs, but sit tight, because at the end of the day, we just want to serve you. All right? So we're going to prepare to serve you your plates. So let's go ahead and let's have a word of prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this cooking class that we were able to do one with another. We thank you for the inspiration that it has brought to many hearts. And we're praying that as we now get ready to partake of this food, that it will bring nourishment and strength to our bodies, and also inspiration that we will maybe make some more changes in our diets for the better, to help our bodies to be strong for you, for the service of our fellow man, and that we might just simply be well. And we ask all these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So sit tight. We're going to go ahead and get your food for you.